Ever since NCIS Origins premiered, fans have been divided. Some viewers embraced the opportunity to explore the early years of Leroy Jethro Gibbs, while others questioned whether any prequel could truly capture the magic that made NCIS one of television's most enduring franchises. The series arrived carrying enormous expectations. After all, it wasn't merely another procedural drama. It was attempting to expand the legacy of a character who had become synonymous with the franchise itself. For the most part, Origins has managed to carve out its own identity. The younger version of Gibbs offers a fresh perspective on a character audiences thought they already knew. The show's darker tone, emotional storytelling, and focus on character development have helped it stand apart from its parent series. Yet one episode exposed a fundamental weakness that continues to haunt the series. It wasn't the lowest-rated installment because of a lack of action. It wasn't criticized because of poor performances. Instead, it revealed something far more significant. NCIS. Origins may never be able to replicate what made the original NCIS special. That realization came during an episode that seemed determined to remind viewers of the original series while simultaneously demonstrating why lightning cannot be captured twice. Every television prequel faces a unique challenge. Audiences already know where the story is heading. When viewers watched Gibbs during the early seasons of NCIS, they didn't know what would happen next. Every case felt unpredictable. Every character relationship evolved naturally. Every emotional revelation carried genuine weight. Origins doesn't have that luxury. Fans already know Gibbs survives. They know the kind of leader he becomes. They know the tragedies that shape his future. They know many of the lessons he eventually learns. As a result, the series constantly battles against predictability. The episode that highlighted this problem most clearly revolved around a personal crisis for young Gibbs. The story attempted to place him in emotional jeopardy while exploring a difficult case. On paper, it had all the ingredients of a classic NCIS installment. There was mystery, there was tension, there were emotional stakes. But there was one thing missing: uncertainty. No matter how dramatic the situation became, viewers understood that Gibbs would emerge stronger. The episode worked overtime, trying to convince audiences that everything might change, yet everyone already knew the outcome. The original NCIS never had that problem. One of the greatest strengths of early NCIS was Gibbs himself. For years, he remained an enigma. Viewers slowly discovered pieces of his past. Every revelation felt earned. Every secret added another layer to the character. His rules, his instincts, his silence, his grief. These elements created one of television's most fascinating protagonists. Origins attempts to explore those same mysteries, but in doing so, it inevitably destroys them. The worst episode illustrated this perfectly. Rather than allowing audiences to speculate about Gibbs's motivations, the series spelled everything out. His emotions were explained, his decisions were dissected, his inner struggles were presented directly to viewers. While this approach created short-term drama, it removed much of the intrigue that made the character compelling in the first place. Mystery is powerful. Once it disappears, it is almost impossible to recreate. The original series understood this. Origins often forgets it. Another major issue became painfully obvious during the episode. NCIS was never solely about Gibbs. The show thrived because of its ensemble cast. Tony DiNozzo brought humor, Ziva David brought intensity, Tim McGee brought heart, Abby Pseudo brought energy, Dr. Mallard brought wisdom. Together, they formed one of television's most beloved teams. Origins lacks that chemistry. That doesn't mean the cast is untalented. Far from it. Many performers have delivered excellent work throughout the series. The problem lies in the nature of the prequel itself. Every character exists in Gibbs's shadow. The original NCIS allowed its supporting cast to become stars in their own right. Entire episodes could focus on Tony, Ziva, McGee, or Abby. Fans became invested in their journeys. Origins often struggles to achieve that balance. The episode in question devoted nearly every meaningful moment to Gibbs. Supporting characters felt secondary, existing primarily to advance his development. As a result, the world seemed smaller, less dynamic, less alive. And that difference is impossible to ignore. One of the biggest dangers facing any prequel is nostalgia. Used correctly, nostalgia enhances storytelling. Used excessively, it becomes a crutch. The episode repeatedly referenced familiar NCIS elements, certain phrases, certain behaviors, certain future relationships. These callbacks were designed to excite longtime fans. Instead, they highlighted how much the series depends on the audience's existing affection for the franchise. The original NCIS didn't rely on nostalgia. It created nostalgia. Every memorable moment became iconic because it emerged naturally from the story. Origins sometimes feels as though it is chasing those moments rather than creating new ones. That distinction matters. Audiences can sense the difference, and nowhere was that more obvious than during this episode. Perhaps the greatest obstacle facing Origins is the fact that viewers know exactly where Gibbs's story leads. His future isn't a mystery, it's history. Every triumph becomes less exciting because audiences know greater challenges await. Every relationship carries an expiration date. Every victory feels temporary. The episode attempted to generate suspense around Gibbs' personal growth, but the effort ultimately fell flat. Not because the writing was poor, not because the performances were weak, but because viewers already possessed information the story couldn't erase. The original NCIS existed entirely in the present. Anything could happen. Any character could evolve. Any relationship could change. Origins lacks that freedom. And the episode served as a reminder that no amount of clever writing can fully overcome that limitation. One unexpected consequence of the prequel format is an emotional disconnect. When fans watched Gibbs on NCIS, they spent years building a relationship with him. They witnessed his triumphs. They experienced his losses. They watched him grow. By the time major emotional episodes arrived, audiences were deeply invested. Origins asks viewers to form a new connection with a younger version of the same character. That's not easy. The episode tried to deliver a powerful emotional climax centered on Gibbs's internal struggles. The performance was excellent. The dialogue was strong. The direction was effective. Yet the moment lacked the impact of similar scenes from the original series. Why? Because audiences aren't connecting with decades of storytelling. They're connecting with a relatively new version of a familiar character. That emotional gap remains difficult to bridge. Comparing any show to NCIS at its peak is unfair. The original benefited from years of development. Its characters evolved naturally. Its relationships deepened over time. Its mythology expanded gradually. Still, the comparison is unavoidable. The episode demonstrated several areas where the original series remained superior. First, the original balanced humor and drama more effectively. Second, it allowed supporting characters greater opportunities to shine. Third, it embraced unpredictability. Most importantly, it created emotional investment through long-term storytelling rather than relying on pre-existing franchise knowledge. These advantages cannot be replicated overnight. In some cases, they may never be replicated at all. Ironically, the episode's biggest failure also highlights the show's greatest strength. Origins isn't failing because it's terrible. It's failing because it's attempting something nearly impossible. Matching NCIS would be difficult for any series. Matching it while functioning as a prequel is even harder. The show deserves credit for taking risks. It has expanded Gibbs's history in meaningful ways. It has introduced compelling new characters. It has explored emotional territory that the original sometimes avoided. Many episodes have been genuinely excellent. The problem is that excellence alone may not be enough. The shadow cast by NCIS is simply too large. Every episode invites comparison. Every storyline faces scrutiny. Every character must compete with beloved franchise legends. That's a battle few television shows could win. Despite its challenges, Origins still has tremendous potential. The series doesn't need to become NCIS. In fact, trying to do so may be its biggest mistake. The strongest episodes are often the ones that embrace their own identity rather than attempting to imitate the original. When the show focuses on young Gibbs's unique experiences, it shines. When it explores unexplored corners of the franchise, it feels fresh. When it stops chasing nostalgia and starts creating new stories, it becomes genuinely compelling. The worst episode served as a warning, not because it was unwatchable, not because it represented a creative disaster, but because it revealed the limitations of the show's current approach. If Origins continues measuring itself against NCIS, it will always fall short. No prequel can recreate the magic of discovering these characters for the first time. No prequel can restore decades of emotional investment overnight. No prequel can make audiences forget everything they already know. The episode that many fans consider NCIS Origins' weakest installment ultimately proved something important. The show will probably never match the original NCIS. Not because it lacks talent, not because it lacks ambition, not because it lacks quality. Rather, it faces an impossible challenge. The original NCIS was a cultural phenomenon built over decades. Its characters became television icons. Its stories resonated with millions of viewers around the world. Its legacy continues to influence procedural dramas today. Origins can honor that legacy. It can expand it. It can even produce episodes that rival some of the franchise's finest hours. But matching the original in its entirety is another matter altogether. The worst episode simply made that reality impossible to ignore. And perhaps that's okay, because the future success of NCIS Origins won't depend on becoming the next NCIS. It will depend on becoming the best version of itself.